All right. Hello, this is Brandon again, and this response is for Andrea. Hopefully, it is Andrea, not Andrea. I think it's Andrea, though. This is a response to a fantastic question that Andrea asked. Thank you again for the. I really enjoyed this topic. Like, this topic speaks to me at my heart. At my heart, I'm a social studies teacher. So we live in the primary and secondary sources and stuff. So, and I'm a researcher at heart. But thank you for the kind words about the presentation. Um, but man, you all are asking me some really fantastic questions, and I really appreciate reading this article and just the background information that you gave about the article is very detailed. So thank you so much. Um, at the heart of the question that Andrea that you're asking is, do you think we can get students to understand that just because something goes against what they've been taught, that doesn't make it fake news? Because you were saying how the term fake news is being used to talk about anything that if it's just something that they disagree with, even if it's not like a news article or something that's not truthful. It's just, oh, you said this and I don't agree with that, so it's fake news. And that's a good point. And I think the people who perpetuated fake news, that was what they ultimately was trying to get to, is they were trying to create this environment where you could just use anything that you disagree with. You could sit there and say it's fake news. It reminds me a lot, Andrea, of the word when people used to be like, you're hating. So it's the same kind of concept. This is really strange. I just thought about this. So back in like the early 2000s, like a common phrase was like, "Oh, you're hating." Like if somebody's doing something and other people sit there and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not nice," and people respond like, "Oh, you're just hating. You're just a hater." And I used to remember talking about this when I was at a community college. I was like, man, it's like you can't even like judge anything, or you can't offer any kind of like not advice, but just you can't really even like analyze anybody else's behavior or anything, because if you do, they're just going to use the excuse that they're hating. Oh, you're being really mean to those people over there. You shouldn't treat people like that. Oh, you're just a hater. You're just hating on me. And it's the same thing. They're doing the same thing with the fake news. I wonder if that's where that mindset came from. Whoever really was perpetuating the term. We know who was perpetuating it, but did they sit there and look at the psychology behind that? That's really interesting. I just thought about that. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. But to get to your question, do you think we can get students to understand that just because something goes against what they've been taught doesn't make it fake news? And man, that's a really great question. And that's just like at a broader issue that we're facing, is because you hear a lot, oh, everybody's divided. Nobody wants to hear, we need to compromise. We need to learn how to talk to each other. And I think that we do. So what I did is I went on the internet, and I didn't know really how to like answer this question. Like, man, yeah, how do we get people to understand that? I found an article here, NBC News, 9 tips for talking to people you disagree with. And it's a really interesting article, and I'll post a link in the response so you can read this if you want. But it gives some tips about how we can talk to other people. And there's a big quote on the middle right here from an executive coach and leadership trainer that states, oftentimes topics like politics and religion get to the core of someone's identity. One could argue that if we don't talk about these things, we don't really know each other. So talking about issues that we might disagree with helps us get to know people better. And if we avoid it, then that wall gets built. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we have such feeling in our country right now that we can't get along with each other, and everybody, you just got to pick a side, is because we sit there and say, we're not going to talk about it with the other people. They're not like us. They're not one of us. We're not going to talk to them. But when it has been shown here, it deepens your personal relationship when you have those conversations. So even though those conversations might be hard, we owe it to our students to have those conversations with them and to get them to start processing those thoughts. So let's look at some of the things that this article talks about. We'll just do a quick rundown. We have decide if you want to go there. You know, sometimes you don't even have to have that conversation. Sometimes that conversation isn't worth having. That's ultimately what each individual has to decide. Ask if you can ask about it. And I think so far from reading those first two is just being respectful of the other person that you even disagree with. Like, instead of sitting there coming at them like you have to listen to, you're wrong. Like, coming at them like I know that you have an opinion about this. I know that you have this viewpoint, but do you mind if I even talk to you? Do you mind if I share how I feel? Like, being respectful enough to have those conversations with people that we disagree with. Be helpful. Keep it neutral. Okay, that's a good perspective. Start the conversation with understanding. That's always a good. Grant your counterpart her premise and then argue from there. Because people believe what they believe for a reason. And in their mind, they think a lot of it's true. So if you come from an understanding like, okay, there's a reason that you believe the way that you think, let me listen to it. Let me be respectful of that, even if it's something I really disagree with, even if it's something ridiculous. And then start from there. I like this. I like number 4. 4 is, I think, important. 4 is something that we can start with kids, coming with understanding. Making sure when we talk to our students about understanding information and misinformation, like, we come from an understanding. Maybe the kids don't have the skills maybe that's all they hear at home. Maybe that's not why, the reason they believe how they believe is because that's all they hear. Like, assume positive intent. When I was in Teach for America, they used to talk about that all the time. Assume positive intent. Look for where you agree. That's cool. I like that one too. I like 5. I like 4 and 5 so far, Andrea. I don't know which ones you like, but I like 4 and 5. Let's look at 6. Talk less. Give the other person space to respond. That's really good, because that's something that you really don't see. Like, even when you watch like news shows and they have guests on and then they start screaming at each other and yelling, like, there's that old saying, like, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, you should listen twice as much as you talk. Like, maybe that's something we can go back to. Okay, avoid using the word but. Yeah, it is a subtraction sign in the conversation. This is a good article. This is just a good article for life. And tell stories. I like it. Make it personal. I like that. Resist the current vogue to be proactive. The best argument isn't necessarily the one you can hashtag and will go viral on the internet. Those are punches. And communicating that way is very expensive in terms of emotional toll they take. Interesting. So be neutral with your emotional load in the conversation and disarm the moment. That's really good. I think these are really good tips. So when we sit and we approach and say, okay, kids, our students come from all different backgrounds, have all kind of different upbringings, and how can we have this conversation to have them to start thinking critically about the information they're hearing? We need to approach them with understanding of their situation. A lot of kids don't get to choose their parents, don't get to choose the household, don't even get to choose what's on TV or what's played in the car. When we have those conversations with them, we need to stay neutral. And we need to listen to what they have to say and not always want to sit there and answer. So hopefully that provides some kind of insight to the question that you had, Andrea. I'm not an expert at this. I just trying to help make the world a better place. I have 2 daughters. I have a just turned 5-year-old, and I have a what's that? What's my other daughter? She's about like 14 months, something like that, 15 months. So I'm just trying to help make the world a better place for them. So please, if you have any follow-up questions, please leave them down. I'll make another video to respond to it. I like doing this. I like talking. So hopefully I wasn't rambling too much and I answered your question. Thanks for listening, Andrea. Take care. Bye.